The In This League Podcast Network.
Bob Harris, football diehard, is on the podcast right now. Bogman and The Welsh. Bob, what is up, my friend?
The usual, man. It's football. It's week 2. The excitement is mounting. Odell Beckham's not playing. How exciting could it be? I mean, or, get caught up in the news of the moment and get all enthusiastic about things. It's something we're going to talk about today, I'm sure, because we're going to discuss a number of issues. And it's something I get very adamant about, is not looking down the drinking straw at the moment-to-moment news. But like when somebody gets ruled out on Wednesday, you're going, all right, great. Helps me out.
And not going too crazy, or having like really bad reactions, like maybe I did when I was on Fantasy Pros this week, and Kyle Yates broke the news. He said, Raheem Mostert's out for the year, and I went, oh, Elijah Mitchell, and then I was like, that's not the best reaction to someone losing their entire year, but what can you do? You're on video, and you're on audio, and we react, and we
caught in 4K. That's the
you get caught. What can you do? Instant reactions. Week 1 was wild. Football Diehard is the Twitter handle where you can follow Bob, of course, on Sirius XM. You guys just flying off doing all the stuff. And week 1 was crazy week 1. It was the most week 1 of week 1s. And as we go into week 2, Bob, we'll just jump right into the stuff. I think the biggest thing that people have been processing has been the waivers with the San Francisco 49ers backfield. And I feel like we've run the gambit. We run the gambit with everything that you possibly could with the 49ers backfield, from how much do you spend on Eli Mitchell to it's all about Trey Sermon, to even people coming in and being like, I don't want any part of the San Francisco 49ers backfield. How and what is your process in this, where we saw it's probably about over 50% of fab had to have been spent on Eli Mitchell? Is it Eli Mitchell? Is it Trey Sermon? Or is it avoid all of the above?
It's yes.
Perfect.
Pick your lane, right? I mean, so I've seen this already. I've seen people spend up to, I think the high I saw was 3/4 of their fab budget on Elijah Mitchell, and good for them. And I will congratulate them heartily if they win that league. And I'll take the L on that one. Like, I'll let somebody else be the hero on this. So I have zero confidence that Elijah Mitchell is going to be the prime. I say zero confidence, meaning the range of possible outcomes is he is a true feature back the rest of the season, all the way to he's inactive next week, right? I mean, Kyle Shanahan has told us as much. It's going to be intrigue every week. It's the first time I've ever believed anything Kyle Shanahan has said, because basically he said what I already knew, which is there's not going to be any clarity. My guess is, here, I'll go out on a limb. Trey Sermon's going to be active. If Trey Sermon is the leading ball carrier on this team this week, I would not be terribly shocked if Elijah Mitchell is. I'm not going to be terribly shocked if JaMychal Hasty scores all the touchdowns. I'm not going to be terribly shocked. I feel like there was a lot of message sending done in San Francisco this week. Said all my Brandon Ayuk shares.
Do you think it was a mistake for people to spend like over 20% of their budget on Eli Mitchell, regardless of that? Because I'm in the camp, because I'm a 49ers fan. I watched every ounce of that game, and my biggest takeaway wasn't like, Mostert's out, Eli Mitchell's getting in. Ooh, Eli Mitchell. I didn't do the Mike Davis thing where it's like, it's just shares. It was that Eli Mitchell was really impressive. He was an impressive back. He already had great vision. They trusted him in pass blocking situations, which I think is key. He had more versatility where he was able to be active. It was more about his ability, anything else. And it's like, oh, next man up, because San Francisco's a mess. So I am more of an Eli Mitchell truther, I suppose, because of the skill set that he showed off. But do you think it was a mistake to spend significant amounts of fab on him, be it talent or be it just, this is, like you said, you just don't know what the hell Shanahan's going to do?
I think it is a mistake, but I think I might be mistaken in calling it a mistake, right? I mean, I'm entirely open to this whole situation. Readily admitting I don't know how the hell it's going to play out. I don't even know if the 49ers know how it's going to play out. I'm going to talk to somebody associated with that team who should have a pretty good idea. And my guess is they'll say they have no idea, right? And so. Honestly, if you're sitting there and you're saying, I'm going to, like I said, the one league, I saw somebody spend 75% of their fab budget. I think at some point they're going to wish they had some of that money back. That's my feeling. It's not, but honestly, I'm open to it. the entire range of possible outcomes here is good, including that Jeff Wilson comes back and looks exactly like Raheem Mostert did, like he did last year when he's back and healthy. So, there's just it's not you're not going to get clarity there is what I think. I mean, I agree with everything you said. Well, it's exactly true. He looked great. So did Jeff Wilson when he got opportunities last year. I bet Trey Sermon does too when he gets opportunities this year. It turns out that offense is really well suited to people who carry football. So we'll see.
That's one of the interesting things with that as well. And one of my arguments it's a good point about the 75% is really tough to stomach. Like even I probably would have passed on that. But, prior to Mostert going out for the year, I was kind of in a listen, I want to be aggressive early on in the season because I've already probably made some moves that are going to be in respect to longer term. Maybe I got a deal on a Michael Carter who I'm playing for the second half of the year, or maybe a Javonte Williams for second half. So I tend to be more aggressive early on. So before the thing, I was already probably in the 40 percentile range. So going over 50. But one of my arguments, I guess I would have is, what would you do if week 2 Jamal Williams hit the wire? Because the Lions have 2 running backs, I think, that are at worst, you would call it startable flex. Maybe one's an RB2, maybe he's a flex, however you want to make the argument. And my thing to people would be, how are the San Francisco 49ers not the same? Jeff Wilson thing, it's very, very true. JaMychal Hasty did not look bad, but 2 running backs can live in San Francisco because they want to be primary. So is it crazy to think Eli Mitchell, maybe Eli Mitchell's not a 20 carry guy, but is it crazy to think that Eli Mitchell and Trey Sermon are as equal, a notch down, or maybe even a little bit better than Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift? So then I would turn the question, what would you have spent on Jamal Williams for week 2 if you were out there?
Sure. And so I probably slightly more just because he has more of a track record and I have a little better feeling, the money invested in him, what the coaches have said about him all off season, dating back to Anthony Lynn's infamous, running back type A comments, all those things. And I mean, you're hanging your hat on something. We don't have a lot to go on in San Francisco. So I spent, I was fine going 25%, right, on Mitchell. Okay. I think that's entirely reasonable, right, on the chance. But if I'm spending real money, I'm spending real money on clear path to workload. I'm not spending money to be confounded every week by a situation that I'm not going to be able to see. That's not going to be as foreseeable as I'd like it to be, or predictable. And I get it. It's the NFL. Not everything's predictable, but few things are less predictable than a San Francisco 49er backfield rotation, it seems to me. I mean, they do tend to stick with a guy when that guy is in there and healthy, right? Like when Mostert is going, look, they'll mix other people in. I think we saw last year, early in the season, we saw more Tevin Coleman, and then we saw, Mostert would come in the second halves of games and get stuff done. So there's probably room for everyone, here to get a little bit. Like Hasty got some this week, even with Mitchell excelling. But I wonder how much of Trey Sermon's absence was due to the fact he doesn't play special teams.
100%.
And so maybe we see him maybe he's better suited to the lead role than Mitchell in their view. And the only reason he wasn't active for this game was because Mostert was in that role. And if something happened to Mostert, they had Mitchell and they had Hasty. So
do you think this is my last one. Do you think either one is an RB2 this week? Do you think either the San Francisco Trey Sermon or Elijah Mitchell are RB2 against the Eagles?
As it stands today, I'm going with Mitchell as an RB2.
Yeah.
As it stands today. Yeah. And if it stands that way Friday, I'm fine with it. If it changes entirely on Friday, it wouldn't surprise me either. That's the issue for me, is there's just a lot of uncertainty, and I'm fine dealing with that and making adjustments to and accounting for it. I'm not okay paying, 3/4 of my fab budget for it. I don't need that kind of drama in my life. I need a little more clarity when I'm spending that kind of money.
I thought Eli Mitchell was a perfect back for this Niners system too, because he ran in a 3-back system at ULL last year. And the most carries he had in a game in college last year was 21. He had one 21 carry game. He had one 19 carry game. And after that, 17, 16, 15, 12, 8, 9, 8 a couple times. So I thought it was crazy that we see his first game in the NFL, and they probably didn't script it like this because Mostert went down, of course, but 19 carries. That's almost his high from college already. So
yeah,
I think they're asking a lot to give him the ball that much and to sustain throughout the year. So I would expect expect them to cut his touches back a little bit. So I think him and Sermon are going to be closer to 50-50, which doesn't help a lot for anybody.
Right.
You know?
And I do want to acknowledge anyone who's out there who thinks that Elijah Mitchell is going to be the guy. I mean, I don't think you're necessarily wrong. I don't know that I'm right. Right. I mean, that's and to me, that's the real issue is just the uncertainty of the situation. I mean, look, if Elijah Mitchell at the end of the season is somebody that nobody drafted who wins them fantasy titles, this will be like the 80th year in a row that a running back nobody drafted wins somebody a title, right? I mean, it's a regular occurrence every season we see it. So, I'm old enough to remember Nick Goings or Reuben Drones, or we can go back.
Reuben Drones
every year. Zach Stacy. I mean, every year we can find something. James Robinson. I can only go back to next year even. So, I mean, it's just like every year there's a Justin Forsett or somebody who's going to turn up and change a team, right? Change a team's trajectory. And if Elijah Mitchell turns out to be that guy, this will not be among the most surprising developments in my life.
Bob's not doing the Twitter takes, the football takes correctly, because Bob is like very balanced and being like, hey, there's a range of outcomes, instead of going on and being like, this is how it works. And this is what
nothing in the world is black and white. So your response to it should not be black or white either.
Right.
I'm absolutely with you, Bob. So I'm absolutely with you. What about speaking of black and white, just give me who impressed you the most? It doesn't have to be, oh, hey, Patrick Mahomes is good still. Tyreek Hill is good, but who did you see on Sunday this week and go, man, that is impressive? And maybe it's someone you underrated. Maybe it's someone you called to have a good performance. Who was it from week one?
So I'm going to go a little outside the box because I like to do that kind of thing.
Yes.
So Cliff Kingsbury's not on the hot seat, kind of, maybe a little bit. Yes, he is. And so one of the things that you heard all offseason about Cliff Kingsbury was, number one, the Cardinals are all in on going to the championship this year. They've spent money. They've invested in that way. Also, they hired Cliff Kingsbury to do something with Kyler Murray. This was obviously the plan going in. And what the complaints you heard after last season was this offense wasn't maximizing the talent that they had, and that Cliff Kingsbury's, genius card was about to get pulled or something, whatever it was. When I watched the game on Sunday for Arizona against Tennessee, I saw the things that we hadn't seen before. Lots of motion, lots of variety to the formations, things that they didn't do in the past that you wondered, why the hell are they doing that? Why did DeAndre Hopkins run out of the same damn spot every single snap last year?
Can somebody tell the Raiders this?
Slot. Yes, this year I see him in the slot. I see motions. I see, mixing up the personnel. I see a lot of things that I didn't see. So I'm going to go with Cliff Kingsbury was the guy who impressed me the most because, look, we all have some heavy investments in a number of those skill players, or at least the top tier of those skill players. And a lot of this depends on Kyler Murray being unleashed. And for at least one game, he did the things necessary to unleash Kyler Murray, things that we hadn't seen him do as much in the past.
Cardinals look great, and Christian Kirk being involved in the offense really showed. I mean, also I left the game being like, we just get AJ Green off this team. Like, don't take this away from Rondo Moore. Let's let Kirk thrive. Like maybe AJ Green's good, but
I will dissent. I think Green, I think he adds something to the offense. And I think by the time the season's over, we'll whether he's a viable fantasy player or not, I think it's really helpful to have another player of his caliber who's capable of drawing more coverage. Also, I'm interested to see what he can do, not being the guy who's drawing that number one coverage. And I know I saw at least one play in the end zone where he was targeted, where it was a really great play by the defender to break up the pass. So, we'll see. I mean, I thought the targets were really balanced out. And if you wanted somebody else to get all the targets, yes, he's a spoil sport. But, if you just want as much offense funneled through the top tier guys, I mean, I don't think he hurts that much. I think the rest of them are kind of outliers. It's going to be a week to week thing, kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs. You have that, that funnel. The ball's going to go through 3 guys, and then there's going to be a Mecole Hardman week. There's going to be a Byron Pringle week. There's going to be DeMarcus Robinson week. I mean, they're coming. You just don't know when.
They're annoying weeks, right? Yeah.
There's just but
nobody's starting those guys unless you're in a 30-man league or whatever.
Wasn't he target like 6? He did this. He did like the same last year stuff. It's like 6 targets or whatever, and like 1 catch. And it's just, I get it. And they had he's the new Larry Fitzgerald for them. It's a leadership, but Larry can get no separation anymore. AJ Green still got a little bit in him, so he provides that. Last thing before we get to some plays is wide receiver concerns, because I think there were a lot out there after week 1. And let's just do a quick burn through. We'll name off a guy, and you can give a little yes or no if you're worried, and a quick blurb if you've got it. Mike Evans after week 1, worried or not?
Unworried, but just we'll say that I was investing in the cheapest piece of that puzzle all offseason long, the Antonio Brown piece. I'm going to be very happy. But the shares that I didn't have, not named Antonio Brown, were Mike Evans, because he was the second guy mostly coming off the board and kind of got him at an appealing price. Look, he's got 1,000 yards every year for 7 years or something. I mean, I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I do too.
Every down is a passing down in Tampa Bay.
Exactly. Right. And he had still double-digit touchdown in play with 17 weeks. Tyler Boyd in Cincinnati.
Not worried yet. I think the biggest concern there is the number of attempts. I expected more attempts. Joe Mixon did a really great job, and so we'll see what happens when there's a game when they get closer to those 40 attempts that we saw last year.
I am based on the value simply because Jamar Chase is clearly the number one, and Higgins and him both have the same amount of snaps, with Higgins missing time. So it looks like Boyd has moved down, but I would liken it to like the poor man's Cowboys, where like Michael Gallup would have 3 weeks of being, and then all of a sudden Gallup is going to have the big week. Like that's what Boyd will do. He'll just be inconsistent.
Yep.
Brandon Ayuk with my 49ers.
So concerned. So damn concerned.
Was that Brandon Ayuk just texting you?
I think all these are based on, levels of investment for the most part, right? So you look at Brandon Ayuk down the stretch last year, he was the third most heavily targeted wide receiver in the NFL, behind guys like named Devontae Adams and such like. So yeah, and I get it. There were a lot of people hurt, but I still seemed like the 49ers made the kind of investment in him that they did to have the kind of role he had. Again, I said this was message sending week in San Francisco. I'm hoping this was part of the message, and that there's some course correction going forward from Brandon Ayuk.
Trent Sherfield outsnapped Brandon Ayuk this past
He's
week.
hurt. I'm not worried about Ayuk at all. I'm worried about the hamstring.
We'll see.
But I'm not worried about him in this offense. One shred.
Well, I'm not worried about the talent, but I think there are things to worry about with San Francisco. They can fall out pretty quick. You've seen other first rounders have that. Not saying, Ayuk is super talented, but I think you should be worried. 2 more. Michael Pittman for the Colts.
No, I got him cheap. I got him cheap enough that, I wasn't expecting. Look, I expect wide receiver 1 workload over the course of the season that I didn't get at week 1. I'm probably going to be okay, playing this out. I don't even know if I have to start him in the leagues I drafted him. I got him at such a reasonable price. So,
yeah.
That said, Zach Pascal looks pretty damn appealing on my waiver wire this week, and probably
really good. And by the way, back to your point of if you didn't want to, when you're talking about waivers and you don't want to take any of the high risk early, if you're that, there were some really, really appealing low value wide receivers that were available. Jalen Reagor being my favorite, but Zach Pascal, another one of those. I had started Pascal in week 1 due to Odell Beckham's injury, which worked out. And then we had a league or two where Pascal just pushed through waivers, and I was able to pick him up after the fact. So agree with you on that one. Last one. This is a big name. You did have an investment, Julio Jones. A lot of criticism after the game. Didn't look good. It was not a good first game in Tennessee for Julio.
Yeah, so there's a lot of targets, open targets there. I'm sure he will get his share. I'm also not sure that the price that was paid for him, you're going to get that return on that investment. I haven't been sure all along. I don't have a lot of shares, so it's easy for me to say. Sorry for those who do.
Sorry, Boggs, specifically.
This passing attack has to be super efficient, right? They're bottom 5 in pass attempts, right? So again, a lot of open targets. Julio will get his share. This offense will be better over the course of time. And I'm sure he will be, a reasonable play each and every week. I just don't know if I see a lot of high end there.
Live and die by Derrick Henry, Boggs. If they can't run the ball and present any play action, they're just going to struggle. And Julio just didn't. As he got called out after the game, it was just dumbass that he was doing all over the board. And
Julio's going to explode.
Mike Vrabel will kick your ass. So look out, everybody.
He will kick your ass 100%. So Bogman, Julio explode?
Julio's going to explode this week.
What a perfect transition to talking about our week 2 plays. These are our plays of the week where we've got maybe top at a position. Maybe we're pushing a player up a tier, and some surprise plays. So Bogman, let's go to you. Let's let Bob get his feet under how we play this game. This is our top tier quarterback for the week. It's easy. This is like get us in, quick one. Who's your top quarterback? Though I don't think there's a universal feeling about that this week. I know Kyler Murray is someone that shows up on a lot of lists as being the top guy, but Bogman, who's your top guy?
I've got Tom Brady because Tom Brady is good. We saw that on Thursday Night Football. Plus, Atlanta's defense, real bad. They made Jalen Hurts look like a Hall of Famer last week. I don't think Tom Brady is going to be running like Jalen Hurts was, of course, but he doesn't have to. This Atlanta defense is soft. And against those three wideouts, I think Mike Evans goes crazy. This could be another big Gronk week. Like Bob has already said in this show, every down is a passing down in Tampa Bay. I expect Ronald Jones to fumble and get removed real quick again, but probably not that. But I think Tom Brady's just going to go ham on Atlanta. So I got Tom Brady. He's already trolling them. Did you see him do his when he was prepping for his week and talking into the camera? He had the 326 or whatever in the background against Atlanta. Yeah, exactly.
Really?
So
Tom is how much more likable has he become? He's just so like every single week, like just kidding. I mean, I guess some people won't like.
If he wins 3 in a row with Tampa Bay, it'll start to be annoying. So
I'm big fans of old people.
Yeah. yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm increasingly becoming also big fans of older people. So, and you know what? He's one of the few NFL players that's older than me right now. So, like, I want to keep.
It's like him and Aaron Rodgers are all that's left for me and Welsh.
We've got a handful. Yeah, exactly. We're like prime quarterback age at 39 right now.
Or kicker, right?
Yeah. We got the 3 more good years. I'm gonna go with Russell Wilson. Yeah. Bob, like, hold my beer.
Killing me.
I'm going to go with Russell Wilson this week. Russell tore up last week. Tennessee gave up, 280 passing yards last week. And I like Russ to continue to go ham. I thought Lockett was locked in, if you will. DK Metcalf still going. I don't think there's a crazy establishment of a run. You've also got Penny, LOL, out continuously. That I think this is just a big passing game. And I would also say this. If you think that Tennessee is going to go off and you think Julio Jones is going to have a big day, you're probably in for another shootout. So I think Russell Wilson near the top of the list. Bob, top quarterback for week 2.
I think Kyler Murray would be the easy play for me, but I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers, the rebound game. I believe he'll have his cup on in this one. There will be no issues with the stray kicks. And man, coming off a historically bad game, I mean, he's never had a game like that. So I'm just expecting a huge rebound for him. So I'll go there.
I almost went with Aaron Rodgers. Pissed off Aaron Rodgers is a good thing to have.
Yeah, pissed off Aaron Rodgers got to be a good thing.
And this is a great quarterback week. I want to point out as well, because all the guys we picked, if people were to happen to just go and peruse and wanted to see like aggregate rankings, Fantasy Pros aggregate rankings, we picked 6, 7, or 5, 6, and 7 is what we picked as far as their ranked quarterbacks for this week.
It's hard not to have Mahomes at the top, but you can't. Yeah, well, he can't be first every week.
They're no brainers, but you'd also look Mahomes a little bit maybe tougher defensive matchup. I think people a little bit question on what Josh Allen they got. I think Josh Allen is on a rebound this week, so that's how you play that. Now, Bob, this is like a snake draft. We're coming back to you. Sleeper quarterback for this week. So all it is a quarterback that is not seen as a typical QB1. We'll just go 12 man. We don't have to get crazy, but your sleeper quarterback, maybe it's matchup based, a guy that could be, let's say 18 normally on there, but this week they move up into a QB1. Who's your sleeper QB for this week?
So I'll go ahead and say, I really want to go off the charts, but I'll say Joe Burrow. Just I think the attempts will go up a little bit in this game against Chicago. Matthew Stafford has some success against this team as well. And I think Burrow will rise up into the quarterback 1. I have him ranked just outside quarterback 1 right now, so I'm going with that. If you really want me to go crazy, I'm happy to go totally crazy.
You give a crazy one. I love that.
I'll go Goff. I mean, if you were asking me for a totally off the board guy, but I don't think anyone probably needs to be starting him. But if you're looking at a guy down in the, outside the 2 quarterback category who has a chance to move into a viable, I mean, it's in this game. You look what he did last week. I mean, was good enough. I mean, the numbers were slightly better than Matthew Stafford's, right? And his were great. And also, they're going to be playing from behind every damn single minute of every game this year, I think. So I expect him to be very productive.
Yeah, and I love the Burrow one. That was actually one I originally almost picked. because I think that one is going to play. But I ended up going with, this might not feel super great for everybody, but I'm going to go with Matt Ryan. And for a couple reasons, Tampa Bay last week gave up 391 yards to Dallas. And I know this is not Dallas, but Atlanta is going to have to throw the ball. And I think it was a rude awakening. There's no way Kyle Pitts is going to get pushed back down again. Calvin Ridley could not get over the 5-catch mark. They are going to be behind. They're going to be slinging the ball. This is a garbage time play. This is, I mean, am I putting him over any like lockdown guys? No, but when you start getting to that 10 area, I think you can start sneaking a guy like this in. I think there's a lot of garbage in play here. So give me Matt Ryan as my sleeper quarterback this week. Boggs, how low can you go?
Let's limbo. Let's go down to Teddy Bridgewater, who I don't even like as a quarterback overall. But this Jacksonville defense made Tyrod look like Ty God last week. So I think even without Jerry Jeudy, I think Noah Fant's going to take a big step up. I think Cortland Sutton could have a decent week as well. So I'm going to go with Teddy Bridgewater, just zipping balls past this Jacksonville secondary. That is not very good at all.
Yeah, no Jerry Jeudy in there as well. Surprise running back 1 for this week. So a guy that jumps in as a RB1. Bogman, we will start with you.
I think it's going to be Javonte Williams. I'm going back to Denver against Jacksonville. We just saw Mark Ingram run all over Jacksonville. Their defense is not good. They have a couple good players. I think Miles Jack is good. I think Josh Allen is very good. Outside of that, they just don't have a ton on this defense. They traded Joe Schobert before the year started. So I think Javonte Williams could have a decent week. Hopefully he breaks one off like Melvin Gordon did last week.
I'm going to, this might not be a super shock for everybody. My surprise RB1 this week, I'm going to go with Damian Harris. Damian Harris was one of my biggest risers. I stole it. I stole it from Bob. Yes. I should have let
I love all the Harrises. The Harris family doing well this year.
All of the, yes, exactly.
Your cousin, right.
In his namesake. I mean, I said on Fantasy Pros when Joe and them had me on, he was my biggest riser this week. He got 23 carries. Guess what he was also done, Bugs? Targeted in the passing game. That's crazy to see. It's beautiful to see. I think the team's gonna be more efficient. I love seeing the dominance of carries, and I thought he just looked good. Again, this is like my Eli Mitchell thing. It's not just the volume. He looks spry out there. Love Damian Harris. Love the matchup this week. Okay, so I stole it, Bob. I apologize. I took your name.
Let me add to that, though. The fumble, everyone's going to be concerned about the fumble and how they're going to deal with that. Well, remember Ramondre Stevenson, the guy who would usurp any serious touches, also fumbled and is a rookie. Wow. And yeah, so yeah, I'm with you 100%. And I think this though all dates back to the stretch run last season when he was beat up and they were still giving him super heavy usage and he was very successful with it. And I agree with you. This is a great matchup. This was an easy call for me, and not just because he's a fellow Harris.
Yeah, I love him. All right. Okay. So you're going to join with me in here. All right. So this is, now we're going to come back to you, Bob, your surprise RB2 for the week. So this could be a flex running back, could be a guy that's not even startable, someone that jumps into RB2 territory.
I'm going to go ahead and roll out Nyheim Hines, maybe a little more passing work, but all he needs, he's always going to get the passing work, right? All he needs is the touchdown. And so I'm going to go with that. And this is the week he shows up with the touchdown or two. You're going to get such a nice floor. I love Nyheim Hines. I just want to talk about him a little bit. 170 receptions over his first 3 seasons, better than Marshall Faulk and Edgerrin James, by the way. Has a role.
Man. Love that. Bog, I'm going to go way off book, and this is going to be hilarious for anybody that heard me talking all the Elijah Mitchell stuff. My RB2 this week, Trey Sermon, because I think the 49ers are going to be able to run. They are going to run, and I think both backs are going to run. And I think we are going to, this is going to be my favorite thing about week 3. We are all going to be up in arms about how we manage Sermon and Elijah Mitchell. And I come back to them both existing, but a touchdown is in play for Trey Sermon. He's going to be my RB2 play this week, where I just don't think enough people feel comfortable. Everybody wants to own him. Everyone's like, hey, pick up your Trey Sermon. No one's going to want to start him, even when they say he's going to be active. Everyone's
how many leagues
he's going to be at RB2.
How many leagues do you have him in?
I don't have Trey Sermon anywhere.
You don't have Trey? Okay. I wish. For whatever reason, I thought you did, but I know you were a Mostert guy going into the year, and obviously.
Oh, yeah. I had Mostert in some spots, unfortunately. Yeah, so Trey Sermon RB2, surprise RB2 for me this week.
Jamal Williams for me, and he's just looking at Fantasy Pros, he's below that RB2 line, and I know it's probably because they play Green Bay on the road and you get pissed off Aaron Rodgers and all that stuff, but we just saw what the blueprint for Detroit's offense is probably going to be like a lot this season. And they got in rhythm when they started throwing the ball to the running backs. I mean, Williams had 9 targets. It looked more valuable in the receiving game than Nyheim Hines last week, Bob. So I think Jamal Williams, surprisingly, is going to have a lot of receptions in this game. And like Nyheim Hines, and like what you just said, Bob, all you need him to do is score a touchdown, and he's the clear goal line back in Detroit. So I don't expect them to score a bunch, but if they do get down there in the red zone, I expect him to be heavily peppered. So give me Jamal Williams.
I like that one. All right, last on the running backs, you're just surprise RB this week. This is an off-the-board running back. If you're taking just Hail Mary, you're taking a shot, your surprise RB, Boggs, you can start this one off. Who is it?
I hate saying this because Fournette's my guy, but Ronald Jones is starting. Atlanta's defense is horrific. So I think they need to get his confidence going back again if they want him to be a part of this team this year. So give me Ronald Jones against Atlanta. It's dicey, and I'm trying not to start him, but he might be a good DFS option because he's going to be very cheap this year this week after only getting 6 snaps last week because of the fumble. So let's get his confidence, and Atlanta's a good spot to do that in. Give me Ronald Jones.
What a hypocrite. My surprise RB this week is I'm going to go way off board, but I'm going to play off of something that Bob said earlier. I'm going with A.J. Dillon as my off the board guy because I think the Packers are going to mud stomp right into the Lions. And guess what's going to happen in the second half? They're going to be running the ball. And who are they going to run it with? Going to run it with some A.J. Dillon. I mean, Aaron Jones is going to get his, but they want to complement both of those backs. But if you've got the Packers up in the second half, A.J. Dillon's going to get some run. I love a score in this game for Dillon. Give me A.J. Dillon as my surprise RB for week 2. Bob, who do you got?
I'm going to go with one of the Houston running backs, not the one that got all the volume last week because I don't think that volume is sustainable. I'm going to go with the guy I've been kind of pointing to all offseason. It's Phil Lindsay. I think every week he's capable of being a guy. At some point, he's going to be the best back in Houston. I think, if you drafted him like I did a lot, this is a long play, just like Michael Carter. Some of the guys you draft, it's a sunk cost for a while. You're not going to get it. But I think any given week, he could be the running back one. And, the 26 carries for Ingram, that's not going to be the norm. But look, like if all 3 of those running backs score touchdowns, or hell, all 4 of them, let's throw in Rex Burkhead. Any given week, it's not going to be crazy. This team's nuts.
Oh, this is the two touchdown Burkhead week for sure. It's coming up. Guarantee it. All right. Last up is the wide receivers. Yeah, it's 100. I mean, like if I could have a futures bet at one time this season, Rex Burkhead will score 2 touchdowns in a game. Mortgage. Put the mortgage on it. That's how I would play it. Wide receivers. So, Bob, we're going to start with you. This is your surprise wide receiver 1 of the week. So just like we did with running backs, this is the guy that jumps in as a wide receiver 1 for week 2.
Jerry Jeudy will be missing some time. Cortland Sutton will be getting his opportunity to dominate against the Jacksonville defense that's not great.
Yeah. This one, mine is not too far off, but I'm using it as I think he's going to scoot up way more into our wide receiver 1, but I'm also doing it because of how poor last week was and people were just kind of I'm gonna go with Allen Robinson. And Allen Robinson last week, as Bogman had pointed out astutely, was shadowed with Jalen Ramsey, and they really shut him down. I think they're going to make those adjustments. Also, Cincinnati gave out the fourth most passing yards this past week. So Allen Robinson, a deep wide receiver 1 on the bounce back.
Julio Jones. Let's get him back involved. Let's have him go nuts. He's been called out by his coach. Julio, it probably doesn't like to be called out. I don't know that he ever has, but DJ Reed, good luck, son. You're going to have a ton of tackles. So give me Julio going up against that Seattle secondary.
Damn, I am so disappointed because I don't think I noticed this before. Did you change this, Bogman?
No, I didn't change it. You tried to steal it from me.
I did.
You stole it from me. I did it first. You copy and pasted my work. My paper again.
I wrote completely different things, and what we're talking about here is, unfortunately, we're snaking to Bogman, and we're going to our surprise wide receiver 2 for week 2. And I didn't see Bogman wrote it. We have the exact same player, so Bogman.
The reasoning is the same too. Obviously, it's Devontae Smith, and Devontae Smith looked great with Jalen Hurts week 1 against Atlanta. I know that defense is rough, and San Francisco has a good defense, so Jalen Hurts is going to have to get the ball out. But there's a lot of problems in the secondary. Obviously, Verrett went down for the year. Week 1 for the Niners, couple big injuries for your Niners Welsh, but
Devontae
Smith is going to be able to take advantage. He's a great route runner, and Hurts already sees that and already has experience with him at Alabama as well. So I love Devontae Smith this week.
Yeah, I do too. I wrote it. I almost put Rager in here just because I think Rager is going to even be, better.
They should be playing from behind. I think that's a good call too.
Well, just PPR points as well. I think Rager, anything over 5 catches makes a lot of sense. They can just kind of bring him across the middle. Goddard's going to get some of his. Hawkinson just absolutely torched the 49ers. Their secondaries mess. You're going to have guys like Fred Warner trying to stay on guys like Goddard, which is going to give a better opportunity for a guy like Rager to sit down. So Devontae Smith, Rager, I'll pick both of them. Your surprise wide receiver 2, Bob, for week 2.
Jarvis Landry going against the Houston Texans. Their secondary is not very good. You'll be surprised learning. Did I mention Odell Beckham won't be playing again?
Right. Yeah.
Well, actually, a little note on that maybe here in just a second. Last is our sleeper wide receiver for week 2. So this is a deep play. Maybe you're throwing someone in at flex. Maybe you had an injury. Maybe Odell's out. You're going deep with your wide out. Who you picking, Bob?
I'm going to go with Russell Gage. Matchup should be favorable. They had an injury, in case you didn't hear, in the Buccaneers backfield or secondary, right? So there will be no Sean Murphy-Bunting. There will be Ross Cockrell. Gage is working mostly out of the slot. I'm expecting a rebound game because it's not hard to rebound when you didn't do anything the last game.
This is funny. I'm actually going to give a secondary one here as well, but I'm all about Hunter Renfrow after seeing him and seeing, ridiculous thinking he's the best player, but the amount of targets he gets, I really like Hunter Renfrow this week, just waiting for a player prop on his catches. But I'm going to throw a secondary one out here. I don't know if you heard, Odell is out. Have we mentioned that? Odell is out for the week. And you know who I really, really liked watching in week 1?
Be the kid.
Anthony Schwartz. Schwartz. I loved watching him. Explosive. They had the end around. They wanted to target the ball. It's kind of like that gadget receiver thing that we're seeing a lot more of, where they want to find ways. The Niners did it with Debo. I said this on the pros. I think Schwartz is one of those guys in deeper leagues. If you've got that, I'd be holding possibility. I know Odell's going to take away from him, but I like that as a really deep play. So as much on my pick is Renfrow, but I'm saying with Odell out this week, I might be comfortable switching that to Anthony Schwartz. Boggs, your last up.
I'm going to go up against my Steelers defense again here too, and go with the original Anthony Schwartz in Henry Ruggs. Actually, the original Anthony Schwartz is Tyreek Hill, but I love Henry Ruggs. I think they should get the ball in his hands more. They should be running some of those motions, Bob. That's why I said about Oakland. I think I said about Vegas is run some reverses, run some bubble screens. Get the ball in Ruggs' hands. When the Steelers give up a play, it's usually a big one. So Ruggs is a big play receiver for Vegas. So that's why I'm going to go with Ruggs this week against my Steelers.
It's our favorite thing to do. The one, the only, the great Bob Harris, football diehard. That is the follow serious. What's up for this week, Bob? You're one of the busiest in the business, but you're transparent. You're easy to listen to. You're one of the great guys. You're one of the smart guys. You do all the stuff. You're all over serious. But what should people be on the lookout for the rest of week 2 if they want to consume some football diehard from Bob Harris?
Thursday night on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, 10 to midnight. We'll be finishing out the game with you like we did Monday night. It was fantastic. By the way, Saturday, you get the double dose of diehards. We're on the fantasy channel from 5 to 7. Then we jump over on the NFL channel for 3 hours, NFL radio, and go from 8 to 11. And then the pregame show with Jeff Manns on Sunday. And you can hear me all over the place at footballdiehards.com. Tons of written content, video content, all kinds of stuff, more than you could ever imagine, including on Saturdays, middle of the day, 12 noon Eastern. I do an Ask Me Anything on YouTube. Instead of sitting there and spending all day answering Twitter questions that are just the same question over and over, I answer them over and over on YouTube. You're going to love it.
Smart man.
Great.
So smart. Do you ever, because people don't know, some people don't know this, Bob stands when he does a show. Do you ever sit? That's so much. You're standing so much. That's so much standing. You do the whole, all those sit. Standing?
I do everything standing.
What kind of shoes?
No, I have flip flops.
Okay, I'm a flip flop guy too.
No, I do have. I stand on a pad though. I stand on a kind of. It's like a mat.
It's good for your knees. Yeah.
But yeah, so the whole thing is exercise every day and stand up the rest of the day. We all are in a crazy business where it requires constant grinding. So like if I'm working 12 hours on a day, that's an easy day. And so, sitting down, it's like a trigger hits and I get tired. So I just stand up the whole damn time.
One of the hardest working in the business while also still being one of the best. Bob, thank you so much for hanging out with us for week 2 and fitting us in your schedule. And always looking forward to catching up with you again.
Appreciate it, guys.
The In This League Podcast Network.